to give the opening remarks. President Yamagia, please start.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's my great pleasure and honor to be here with you. First of all, I would like to thank to the organizing committee for their tremendous effort to organizing this symposium. It is just great. And I hope all the presentators to have great success in the future from this symposium. This symposium is what Kyoto University holds in order to facilitate our freshmen change their style of learning from passive to active. In this symposium, freshmen or sophomore can make presentations of their research in which they found a program by themselves. This activity began as what your senior and professors tried to realize Kyodai style learning in which students can conduct their own research work. One thing which they need to follow is a scientific method in which a claim is derived from a fact. Our question survey shows that the symposium gives the participants more than the research accomplishments. First, the survey result shows that all the participants felt their growth through the symposium. This growth includes the improvement in the viewpoint of the research planning, English literacy, and oral presentation. In addition, some participants felt that they acquired basic skill for their self-learning, and they understood that they need to change the way of thinking which had been superficial in their high school days. Thus, the symposium offers an opportunity in which each participant becomes aware of an essence of learning in university and contributes to the facilitation of change in the learning sufficiently. Second, some participants wish to apply their academic communication skill, which they obtained through this symposium in the outside world. 3 students who participated in the first symposium studied abroad or plan to do so. 2 students who participated in the second symposium plan to study abroad, and the committee members studied abroad after completing the symposium. Thus, the symposium extends the field of the view of the participants and gives an opportunity in which the participants can find a new goal. This year, in our third symposium, we received more than 50 submissions and selected 10 excellent papers through the reviewing by our graduate students. Today, I understand that there are many freshmen here in this symposium as audience. I hope that some of you will make presentations in the next year. I also understand that the student committee members have done an excellent work for presentation for the symposium until late in the night. I thank for their enthusiasm and great effort. This symposium committee is composed mainly of students who made presentation in the first or second symposium. Thus, the symposium is about to play a role of transferring our self-learning culture into the university. Since we announced the call for papers in our website, we received many applications, mainly from our freshmen. An intensive class was open to learn a scientific method, an academic writing, and an academic oral presentation in a summer holiday. Our active graduate students were in charge of this intensive class, and their teaching was digitally achieved for the students' review. The student committee member helped the participants to make their presentation in detail. In the early stage, they confident in their presentation, but finally their skills were so improved as to make a question when other participants made their presentations. I hope that you can confirm their growth. Next year, we would like to announce this symposium as a platform in which students can present their research work in the pocket seminar. Now, we need to move on to the order presentation session, although I would like to mention many things. Please enjoy this symposium and our festival. Thank you very much.
President Yamagiwa, thank you so much. Next, we are happy to invite Mr. Carl Becker to make a keynote speech of this symposium. He is a professor of Graduate School of Human and Environmental Studies, Kyoto University. Professor Becker, please start your keynote speech. 高見さん、プロジェクターの接続用意をお願いいたします。プレゼンテーションを使われます。わかりました。小演台を用意してください。Please wait a moment.
Hello and welcome.
Hello and welcome. This is better. I'm a Kyodai old boy. I attended Kyodai, love Kyodai, I want to help Kyodai and you people at Kyodai. But I'm worried. You have great brains. You have great hensachi. You have trouble in other places. And my purpose today is not to criticize you. It's to try to give you some hints to avoid big trouble. Most of you write very good English. Most of you will make beautiful presentations today. And the form of your Trongbun papers is clean and well done. However, I can't understand many of your ideas because they don't follow logic. In fact, this is not only your problem. It's a problem of many of my Japanese professor friends. Professors give me a paper to submit to a famous journal and say, please correct my English. The problem is not in the English. It's in the logic. You are not to blame. You have never received training in critical logic. And in a 30-minute speech today, I cannot expect all of you will master logic in 30 minutes. But I can give some examples maybe you will remember to make better research in the future. I have 4 Examples. First, defining your terms clearly and stick to the definitions. Number two, to build on previous research. Number three, don't switch directions midstream. And fourth, be sure your data supports your conclusions. Now, my boss asked me to speak in English, so forgive me for speaking in English. All your papers are also in English, and I quote some of your papers, so I must use English. But we can discuss in Japanese later if you like. Point one. This is jam. That is a jam. They are both jam. But if you confuse this jam and that jam, you yourself may find yourself in a jam. Jam has many meanings, and you must clarify which meaning, not using the same word in two ways. For example, and you will hear this later today, one speaker says, business and educators stress the importance of communication. You know, business communication. This means effective language. And 1 minute later, they say, communication means trusting a number of private friends in the same class. Now, there may be a connection between effective business communication and having lots of friends, but they're not the same thing. And we need to check this connection. Many people use, in today's speeches, the words perception of X. But perception of X has two possible meanings. It might mean how X perceives others, or it might mean how others perceive X. So, X perception is not a good term for academic writing. We should use A or B. History. Sounds like we know what history means. Koreans say, Japanese don't recognize our history. When Koreans say so, they mean we can't forget our suffering. Japanese say, Koreans criticize our history. History is finished. Both use the word history, but for a victim, it means one thing. For an aggressor, it means another thing. Don't imagine history is one word with one meaning. Science. In today's presentation, you will hear Asians are interested in science. That's what they say on a questionnaire. When you ask, what are you interested? They check the box, science. However, this hides two meanings. Does this checkbox mean Asians will pay to visit Japanese science museums? Or does it mean Asians will pay to buy Japanese high-tech goods? If I'm an Asian and I have only one box connected to science and buying high-tech, I will check that box. But it hides two different meanings. In today's presentation, you will hear, I cannot try harder. This is a question in an English questionnaire. But what does this mean? Does it mean I am already studying enough? Does it mean I have no time to study harder? Does it mean I have no ability to study harder? I have no need to study harder. It's no use to study harder. This phrase itself is ambiguous. Now, ambiguous Japanese is good, because your friends will not have their heads chopped off by the shogun for disagreeing. And for 300 years, the shogun and the daimyo persuaded people to speak unclearly, ambiguously, because it's safer. However, in science, we need to speak and not kick our PowerPoint. In science, we need to speak clearly. We have to unlearn the vagueness of Japanese language. Keep that going. Point 2. Build on previous research. In English, we have a proverb, a saying, don't reinvent the wheel. Thousands of years ago, this was a wheel. And little by little, the wheel has been improved by many generations. We already have great wheels from Toyota or Honda. So you don't need to go back to this wheel. Use the latest and best research. For example, there's a great study in today's presentation about a planet, HAT P25b. And this research shows how the planet crosses the face of a star. And by measuring how it crosses a star, we can find how big is the planet, how close to the star. We can learn many things about HAT B by this experiment. Well, that's fine, except for one problem. This is finished 3 years ago. A famous article from Georgia State University did all of this before. Now, I don't accuse you of copying that article. But if you don't know that article, then you are reinventing the wheel. Another example. Several of today's presentations ask people questions using questionnaires. What do you like? What do you think? How do you study? But we already have, in famous journals, excellent scales, have been beta tested, have been proven, have been validated. Don't invent your own imagined scale when a valid scale exists. And reliable, that's what I mean by valid. Exactly, thank you. Validity and reliability are different, and in such publications, both will be documented. And we, as individuals, cannot make reliable and valid scale from our brains at the first time. It takes a lot of time to test. In the worst case, if we don't check others' data, people may think we copied somebody's data. Now, I don't know how much data was copied, but this has become a scandal, not only for one girl, but for all of Japanese scholarship. The rest of the world now thinks Japan allows this at Waseda University, and maybe at other universities. So the world is watching Japanese manuscripts very closely. Don't copy, even by accident. You need to know what the rest of the world is doing. That's the end of point 2. Don't copy, don't reinvent, build on it. We have an expression in English, don't change horses in the middle of a stream. If 2 horses are crossing a river, and you try to move from one horse to another horse, like this foolish man, you are likely to fall between the horses into the water. If you start on one horse to do a research project, continue riding the same horse. Example. you will hear a presentation today that only children have worse communication skills, but the same paper says only children are more active to make friends. Classmates with friends might use little language, or good communicators might lack classmate friends. Part of the presentation is about communication skill, and part is about classroom friends. Which horse should we ride? Another presentation defines self-sufficiency, using calories, kilocalories. In that case, sugar, wheat, and oil give twice the calories of meat, and he's talking about meat. But in the middle of the stream, his argument moves from kilocalorie self-sufficiency to cost and profit. And if our measure is cost and profit, then sugar, wheat, and oils cost only 26% as much to subsidize. Now, I don't care which argument you want to make. Whichever argument you make, it should be made completely to the end. You will hear a discussion about Japanese understanding Korean history. Our author, and I agree with her, she wants to show Koreans suffered so much. How does she show this? She chooses a Korean textbook. Of course, Korean textbook will say so. But by choosing the Korean textbook, this allows the right-wing Japanese to say, Koreans always criticize us. That Korean textbook is one more example of Koreans criticize us, and we don't believe it. If you want to show that Koreans suffered, can't only listen to the Koreans. Find an objective third party. Find a Russian or English or French text that says, this is what happened. And then the right wing cannot say, another Korean criticism. It's objective third party. We will have a presentation on how scholars understand waka, cooking and old poetry. But it begins by asking, describe waka using scholarly adjectives. And the first conclusion is, young people cannot describe waka correctly using scholars' adjectives. And then it gives the conclusion, it's because the adjectives are too difficult for young people to understand. So scholars should use easier words. This is changing the question from what word describes waka to what language should scholars use. It's no longer a discussion of waka, it's a discussion of how scholars should write for young people. Another study says, students who want to research will study more than students who want jobs. However, it might be that lazy students want to research because they think we researchers have an easy life. And the students wanting jobs are working harder. Two questions. What makes us work hard? And what do students want to do? Are combined in the middle of the paper. Another combines the question A, motivation improves English study. That's the topic you will hear in the presentation. But in the next page it says, liking English affects speaking speed. Eh? Does motivation mean liking? I thought motivation meant desire or goals. Motivation is not the same as liking. Does English study mean speaking speed? I thought English was quality, grammar, homework. I can speak as fast as this. It doesn't mean I like it. Or I can speak slowly. To communicate to a Japanese doesn't mean I dislike English. So the speed of my speaking is not the same as liking. And liking is not the same as motivation. We have many concepts confused here. The planet study, HAT PD 25B, says it does two things. It observes and calculates the size and distance of the planet, as we saw in the Georgia State study. And B, it discusses, can we humans go there for eternal prosperity? Because our Earth will die in a few thousand or few million years. We need a second Earth. Now, A is a simple exercise in astronomy, using a telescope and a computer. But B, eternal prosperity, is not scientifically verifiable. This is a discussion in philosophy or science fiction. So, point 3, not only choose your term, but choose your argument. Make one argument clearly for your whole presentation. If you mix arguments in the middle, we all get in trouble. Point 4, make sure your data prove your conclusion. Look before you leap to conclusions. For example, data says feed rice will get more stable income. You'll hear this in a minute. Because most income is taxpayers' money, subsidy from the government. Now this is maybe an argument in favor of subsidy, but it's not an argument for rice over anything else. It's not what he will call free food. And the data in his paper shows we get self-sufficiency and income cheaper if we paid for sugar, wheat, and oil than if we pay for rice to feed pigs and cows. Don't confuse me. I'm not attacking a conclusion. I'm not attacking his plan. I'm saying there's a gap between what his data shows and what he says. Korean-Japanese problem. Our author, like you and I, we want to improve the Japanese-Korean relation. The data says Koreans want Japanese to take responsibility. And her conclusion, at the end of her paper, says what matters is the social situation that let massacres happen. That's exactly what the Koreans hate. You are saying exactly what they don't want to hear, because you're blaming it on the situation instead of on the people who did it. Taking that conclusion doesn't improve our relations. Sorry. What waka do Japanese like most? The data says they like one cookie that they felt sochok and sobok. Conclusion, does this show that they like cookie? Or does it show they like sochok and sobok? Not clear from the data. And as far as that planet, HAT P25b, it's 969 konen. If we go as fast as a Voyager satellite, it will take 16 million years to get there. Even if, in the future, we invent a spaceship that can go 1,000 kilometers in 1 second, it would still take 200,000 years to get there. So we cannot put 10 or 20 people in such a spaceship and expect them to make a new human planet so far away. My conclusion is, regardless of had P25b is too hot or too cold, if we want eternal prosperity, we cannot do it there. We must save this earth here. Look at your data carefully. Make sure your data say what your conclusion says. Now, my comments are about some of the better papers. Some of the papers I could not even read. But for your information, 90x% of Japanese problems in English are 5 kinds, the stop kind. S means spelling, T means tense, O means order, P means plural and singular, and the kyocho sign exclamation point means watch your punctuation. If you fix these 5 problems, your English will get much better. But it's you, presenters, are not to blame. You are not bad. I admire and appreciate your good work. The problem is in your education. We are to blame. Your teachers are to blame. Because we taught you how to change Japanese to English or English to Japanese, but we never taught you there's a gap in logic here and there. In entrance examinations, for example in America, they are called aptitude examinations. And what they measure is not how much you remember, but how many mistakes you can find in the rumbo you must read during the exam. Hopefully in the future, Japan's entrance exams will also include thinking power. Your English is good. Your presentations are good. Everyone here will enjoy these presentations, even despite the problems I mentioned. It's a good beginning, but we all need to work for better logic. I hope, no, I believe we can all compete on an international scale here from Kyoto University, and I pray for your improved and increasing success. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we are preparing time for the first session. Please wait a moment.
開演に先立ちましてご来場の皆様方にご栄諾がございます。本日お越しの院生並び学部生の評価者の方で本日の受付をまだお済ませない方がいらっしゃいましたらどうぞお近くの実行委員までお知らせください。あちらに実行委員がおります。繰り返しご連絡申し上げます。もし本日の院生並び学部生評価者の方で説明会での出席をお取りでない方がいらっしゃいましたら、あちらの委員までお知らせください。お願いいたします。
Ladies and gentlemen, we are sorry to keep you waiting. Now, we move on to the presentation section. This section includes 2 sessions having a break time between the first and second. The speakers are bachelor students of Kyoto University. One presentation includes 5 minutes speech and 5 minutes question time. Active question will be appreciated. If you have a question, please come to the stand mics over there and wait to the pointing or chairperson. Presentations are graded by the judges invited and graduate school students. To grade the presentations, we have grading process between presentations. So please remember it. The result will be shown at after party or homepage of this symposium. Now, we are moving to the first session of the presentation. The chairperson is Mr. Tatsuya Iseki of the symposium committee. Chairperson, please start.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to start the first session. In this session, we have 5 speakers. The first presenter is Mr. Tagui Nagato from the Faculty of Engineering. The title is Only Children and Communication Skills. Do communication skills of only children improve with age? A survey of Kyoto University students. Please start your presentation.
Thank you. Okay. First, only children are people who don't have any brothers or sisters, so who don't have any siblings. Now, in Japan, the birth rate is declining and the number of only children is rising. On the other hand, it is usually said that young people are not good at communicating with others. So we should do something to improve communication skills, especially to improve communication skills of only children. But what to do? Do you know? So we don't know well about how to improve communication skills of only children. So we need to know well about communication skills of only children. So my study is about communication skills of only children. Communication skills have a lot of meaning. In my study, communication skills mean how well they get along with others of similar age, not older people or younger people. Please remember that point, communicating with others of similar age. So I focused on the differences of communication skills between only children and people who have siblings. And I found that there are not many differences between only children and people who have siblings when they become adults. This is a brief outline of my presentation. I will follow along the outline. 2 beliefs in Japan, survey at Kyoto University, result and conclusion. First of all, I will talk about the purpose of my study. In Japan, there are 2 beliefs. One is that in childhood, communication skills of only children are worse than that of children who have siblings. This is true because there are some studies about this. The other is that the differences remain when they become adults. This is not obvious because there are not many studies about this. I focused on that point. Do the differences of communication skills remain when they become adults? I'll move on to the next. Method. I had a questionnaire for 26 undergraduate students at Kyoto University. I focused on the number of friends they have in each community. Friends means people they often talk with or have fun with, so they have close friendships with. So the more friends they have, the better communication skills they have. I asked them about siblings, communities they belong to, such as courses, clubs, part-time jobs, and the number of friends they have in each community. Data were analyzed based on the community's condition. So, look at these columns. These show how many, the number of friends male students have in their courses. The vertical line shows the number of male students, and the horizontal, the number of friends they have in their courses. So for example, this bar shows 5 male students answered that they have 1 to 5 friends in their courses. So the peaks are in the same range, and the difference of average is less than 1. According to these results, there are not many differences between only children and people who have siblings when they become adults. In further study, we need to focus on what narrows the gap. It will help to think about how to improve communication skills. Conclusion. There are not many differences between only children or communication skills between only children and people who have siblings when they become adults. So the latter Japanese belief, the difference of communication skills remain when they become adults is a wrong stereotype of only children. So we need to reconsider how to deal with only children. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you for your presentation. Now is the time for question and answer. Is there any question or comment? Please come to the mic stand to give you a comment or question. Please.
Why do you select the number of friends as a criterion measuring communication skill?
I want to know the difference of practical communication skills. So I thought it is adequate. Yeah.
Please.
Thank you for your presentation. I have a very simple question. Do you think that 26 students is enough for your conclusion?
I know the shortage of participants, but these results are worse because the condition is very good. Almost all of them are in the same courses and met each other for the first time in this spring and started to make friends. So condition is very good.
Thank you, I understand.
Thank you for your question. Any other comment or question?
Your participants were only male students, but do you think if there were female students involved, do you think that the result would have been different?
I couldn't collect enough female participants, so in further study, we need to focus on male-only children. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for the very interesting presentation. And I want to ask a question about this chart. And so we can see that there is only 2 people in the first in the first group, so the size of the sample is too small. Secondly, and we can see that the 100% of this in the first group, and so they all have 6 to 10 friends. And in the second group, and 6 to 10 group is only takes maybe, I think, maybe 60%. How can you make any conclusion without any statistical analysis? Thank you.
I'm a first year student, so I don't know how to statistical analyze. I'm sorry, it's my fault.
like to give you a suggestion. It's like you research about the communication ability of the people. So please consider about including like the people explain some issues to other people or communicate or inform something to other people, not only count the number of friends. And another point is, in the future research, please consider about like they communicate with the young people and older people and in their workplace, the situation. Thank you for your presentation.
Wow. Okay.
You have excellent public speaking skills. I really think I was impressed. If you are only going to use 5, if you have a sample of only 5 children, it might be better just to change the whole project and not do this, and perhaps make it like 5 in-depth profiles, 5 profiles of only speakers, or something like that, where you accept the fact that you have a small sample, and what you're doing is you're doing a more in-depth, individualized kind of investigation into each one of their communications. It's just an idea, but excellent, I think, speaking skills and presence on the stage.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Now we have 2 minutes for the review process. Please wait a moment. Okay, let's start the next presentation. The next presenter is Mr. Nobuhito Danzuka from the Faculty of Integrated Human Studies. The title is Globalization of Kyoto University. Please start your presentation.
My name is Nobuhiro Danzuka, and they are my collaborators. I will discuss globalization of Kyoto University. I speak as this. Globalization of universities is propelled in Japan. However, the world ranking of Kyoto University remains unsatisfactory. For example, in THE World University Rankings, Kyoto University ranked 59. In the detail of the score, Kyoto University got only 29 points on the criterion of international outlook. Then should be Kyoto University globalized blindly? We thought that not only top-down, but also bottom-up approach is needed. So, in our study, we conducted questionnaires for freshmen at the Physical Engineering Division in Kyoto University and examined what satisfied or dissatisfied students. The questionnaires were conducted on 72 freshmen at the Physical Engineering course, and the questionnaires included 48 questions, which might be involved with student satisfaction. In these questions, we adopted as an index of the student satisfaction a question: do you recommend your juniors entering at Kyoto University? To analyze the relationship between this question and the other questions, a variable reduction technique with the regression analysis has been employed. This is the questionnaire result. Blue means disagree, and red means agree. The analysis of this questionnaire result demonstrated that the degree of the student satisfaction is related to three factors. The number of famous researchers, how solid information on studying abroad is, and the frequency of international conferences. First and second factor have a positive relationship, and third factor has a negative relationship. This result could be interpreted as indicating that the students want to participate in a class by a famous researcher and study abroad. On the other hand, many of them don't feel like participating in international conferences or classes conducted in foreign languages due to their lack of international communication skills. Perhaps the lack makes them it difficult to take part in classes by world famous researchers or study abroad, which they really want to do. To globalize Kyoto University and also satisfy the students, their negative attitude to the international communication should be changed. This may temporarily dissatisfy students, but finally, they will be able to participate in classes which they want to, or study abroad at ease, and be satisfied. To achieve this aim, some educational policies can be conceived. One policy is that seminar classes should be more interactive and internationalized. Another is that the learning output should be shared with other class students in the student symposium. Finally, I hope that even when Kyoto University is more globalized, the educational policies are conducted as the students feel satisfactory. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you for your presentation. Now is the time for QA. Is there any comment or question? Please come to the mic stand and to give you comment or question.
Okay, thank you so much for your presentation. I think it's really impressive, and I like your sample size, and I think it's really well structured and very clearly explained.
But just one question about when you were talking about the result of your research about among 72, I think, to 72 students. I think you kind of put them into charts, and then you listed 3 kind of conclusion or findings and mentioning about the negative or positive relationships. So what do you mean by, yes, so what do you mean by negative or positive relationship on this slide? So could you please further explain that to me, please? Thank you. So usually when people are talking about relationships, for example, positive or negative, they will say, for example, A and B has positive or negative. So I was wondering, so what did you mean by saying the first one, second one shows a positive relationship, or and then the third one shows a negative relationship?
You mean how the relationship is positive or negative?
Yes.
We use Excel software.
Oh, so that's how you come up to your finding, right? Okay, thank you for your answer.
What are they related to?
Oh, yeah.
Relationship to what? It's to your first question on the first slide.
These factors are surveyed relationship with satisfaction of students.
Yeah, so that was actually my question, and thank you so much for explaining the first explanation, and also thank you for answering. Good job.
Thank you for your question. Any other comment?
Please come here.
I have a simple question. Certainly, going abroad is very important, but going from abroad is also important. Have you ever thought about this? You say going abroad is very important. Okay. But going from abroad is also important, I think. Have you ever thought that? You say about globalization. Globalization is not only going abroad.
Yes. I think that going from abroad is also important. For example, MS researchers from abroad is important. And going abroad is also important.
Okay.
Thank you for your question. Presentator, thank you for your presentation. Now we have 2 minutes for the review process. Wait a moment, please. Now let's start the next presentation. The next presenter is Mr. Yusuke Sakai from the Faculty of Law. The title is The Potential of Feed Rice. Can it save Japanese food self-sufficiency? Please start your presentation.
Thank you, Kiriko-san. Hello everyone, thank you for your time today. I would like to talk about national security.
I'm so sorry, presenter and Mr. and Mrs. Audiences. I'm so sorry, Mr. Presenter and audiences. Now let's restart the presentation. The next presenter is Mr. Yusuke Sakai from the Faculty of Law. The title is The Potential of Feed Rice. Can it save Japanese food self-sufficiency? Please start your presentation.
Thank you, Chairperson. Hello everyone, and thank you for your time today. I would like to talk about national security. First, I want to quote one sentence from a speech. Can you imagine a country that was unable to grow enough food to feed the people? It would be a nation that would be subject to international pressure. It would be a nation at risk. The speaker is George W. Bush. The most powerful nation on earth has field for food. As this figure shows, Japan is stable in food self-sufficiency. Then, what is the weak point of Japan? The answer is feed. Livestock production is very large part in Japan. And seemingly, Japan can supply more than half, but it's fake. Actually, Japan depends on foreign feed. To be complete, Japan depends on only one crop, corn, from the United States. This is the risk of Japan. Now, the most expected solution is feed rice. Most of you think, what it is? In short, food rice is for people, but feed rice is for animals. It is not so delicious, but it has high crop yield. And feed rice is already used in various parts of Japan. I already talked about these things. I focused on in this research income of feed rice farmer because the issue of feed rice is improvement of production, and the main factor of production is the number of farmers. And money can change farmers in crop. So this study tried to show this. There are some assumptions in this research. 1. Feed rice replaces foreign feed spontaneously. 2. Feed rice doesn't need any cost of switching. 3. The current policy on feed rice doesn't change. This study used 3 model cases with the same scale. This is the definition of incomes and the calculation data. I set the calculation data from mainly offshore materials. The model 1 is a usual food rice farmer. Its producer's price is very high, but it doesn't get subsidy so much. Model 2 and 3 are feed rice farmer. The producer's price is not so high, but they get a lot of subsidy from the government. And model 3 is full-scale switching to feed rice, so it has a high crop yield. This is the result. This figure shows the income of 3 model cases. According to the percentage, it is clear that feed rice is more profitable. Result and discussion suggest feed rice is more profitable than food rice. Moreover, the full-scale switching of feed rice can stabilize farmers' income. And some researchers claim crop yield can improve by 50%, and they estimate that the rise of market value of feed rice. Taking into these studies, if my research becomes more widely known, Japan can supply feed without government support. Frankly speaking, almost all of you think national security feed rice that doesn't concern me at all. But please listen to me. The number of rice farmers is 3.5 million. It means 1 out of every 40 people is rice farmer. You must know rice farmer around you. You can double your friend's income and you will get free food in repeat. Good. With your help, feed rice can save Japan in future. If you help, if you use my paper, you can save your friends and save your money and save Japan at the same time. If you help, feed rice can save Japan in future. At that time, Japan can procure food self-sufficiency. At that time, Japan can recover the properly independent from international pressure. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you for your presentation. Is there any comment or question? Please come to the mic stand and give your question or comment, please.
Thank you for your presentation. Your story is very interesting. But I think some part of your presentation is partly unclear, especially assumption. Please tell me in detail supply possibility of feed rice.
Sure.
Thank you. Please tell me.
Your question is, this assumption is reliable or not? First, from the point of nutrition, feed rice can replace foreign feed, especially corn. If you check my paper, you can get more information about this. I reference some paper about this fact. And there are a lot of potential demand of feed rice. It's maybe 4.5 million of tons, so it is enough. And the feed rice doesn't need any cost of switching. It is the advantage of feed rice. Feed rice is a kind of rice, so farmers don't pay any. So all farmers have to do is exchange a seed or change other situation. So this is correct. And the current policy of feed rice doesn't change. So the government have enough room in budget because now the government paid many money to stabilize the price of foreign feed. So the government can use such money to feed rice. So this assumption is maybe real.
Thank you for your kind reply.
Thank you very much for the presentation. It was very interesting and impressive, I think. I want to confirm one thing. You are suggesting to stop producing normal kind of rice that everybody eat and start to produce feed rice for animals, right?
Please repeat your question more slowly.
So you are suggesting to stop production of normal rice and substitute it for the feed rice, right? Completely.
Of course not. But if my report, my paper become more widely known, the number of feed rice farmers is become improved, is more big. So it will change the Japanese situation of food self-sufficiency. Of course, almost all food rice farmer exchange feed rice farmer of Japan is end. It's extraordinary. But so Japan, the government can control the subsidy. So the government can control the feed rice farmers, the number of feed rice farmers.
But if you increase the production of feed rice, it means that you have to decrease the production of normal rice because space is limited.
Yes. But actually, Japan has many potential of room for producing feed rice and food rice. Japan has controlled the amount of food rice, so the land for producing food rice is declining, but most of them don't use now. So feed rice farmer use such lands for feed rice.
Alright, thank you. Thank you for your reply.
Thank you.
Okay, my question is it's a little bit related to what just he asked. You know this food rice and feed rice. Do you use a different field? I mean, a rice paddy is usually the food rice, but how about feed rice? Do you use a rice paddy? I mean, or dry? I don't know what to call it, but dry field.
The definition. Your question is what is the definition of feed rice?
Well, the reason is as he thought that you're completely replacing the food producing, rice. I mean, a food rice with the feed rice, but your answer is no, of course not. Although our consumption of rice in Japan is decreasing still, but rice is still the staple of our diet. So, okay, so what is the percentage or the balance of this between food rice and feed rice between your?
Okay. Japan is slightly aging rapidly, so the demand for food rice is maybe declining. So, but the number of food rice farmers don't change, so quickly. So, the percentage is I'm not clear. Sorry, further consideration will be needed. But if Japan supply all feed with by feed rice, the number of feed rice farmer is Japan have enough room between the two type of farmers.
Thank you, question. Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Presenter. Now we have 2 minutes for the review process. Please wait a moment. Okay, let's start the next presentation. The next presenter is Ms. Azumi Kitawaki from the Faculty of Letters. The title is The Historical Perspective of Japanese People. Please start your presentation.
Thank you for introducing me. Today I would like to talk about this topic, but as Mr. Carl Becker commented, the meaning of perception is quite ambiguous. By here I mean the perception that Japanese people have about Korean history. So this is my outline. But first, I would like to start out from recalling a shocking event that happened in 2009. On December 4th, 2009, about 10 anti-Korean people gathered in front of a Korean school in Japan, in Kyoto, and started shouting out using a megaphone. And here is just a few examples of what the children heard. According to an article in the Asahi digital newspaper in 2014, still the children are suffering from this experience. I was very shocked to hear this news. Why do these problems between Japan and Korea happen? Well, Japan's historical perception is often criticized as a cause. Then what is Japan's historical perception, and why is it criticized? Today, I would like to tell about the problem of Japan's historical perception. So, I first researched about Korean history, but maybe this might be something already everyone knows. So, today I would like to cut this out, but please feel free to ask questions after the presentation. I will start out now from examining the surveys which have been done by other researchers in the past. The first survey shows us that over 40% thinks that annexation of Korea is forgivable. The same survey, the second question, whether the compensation is sufficient or not is a difficult problem, and I can't discuss it now, but what I want everyone to know is that 44% answered don't know. The second survey, this survey asked the historical facts you know about Korea, and this is not my opinion, but according to the survey, it turned out that Japanese people knew about recent facts like these three, but didn't know about historical facts. The same can be seen from this survey too, and especially in this survey, we can see that not only Japanese people don't know about Koreans and their history, they also don't care about them. Well, in the first survey, we just seen that over 40% think the annexation is forgivable, but I think you can't say so if you knew that the violation of human rights was carried out by Japan during the annexation period. But people just don't know and don't care, so they answer the annexation is forgivable. So here's my conclusion. I think the problem is that the people just lack interest and lack knowledge. So people tend to believe the wrong information, and because of it, I think this happens. Well, why this? Why hate speeches if you knew that Koreans had to come to Japan because of us, because of ourselves? Believing wrong information sometimes can hurt people's feelings. So I think we should improve education, history education in Japan, but as for an individual, we should first stay calm and then realize the misunderstandings, and third, try to learn more about Koreans and their history. This way, I hope both Koreans and Japanese people can understand each other better. So, thank you for kind attention.
Thank you for your presentation. Now it's time for QA. Is there any comment or question? Please come to the mic stand and give your question. Please.
Thank you for your presentation. It was very
very interesting for me and informative. I'm a little unsure about the questionnaires that you're using there. Who was questioned?
Japanese people.
They're all Japanese people?
Yes, but
what?
In one survey I used, in the two surveys, I think the people were all Japanese, but in one survey I used, it informed me that about 1% of the people were Chinese Koreans.
So that would have been a general survey of Japan. Okay. And do you know any details about the age or the distribution of the people? Are we talking about general surveys of the Japanese population, or are they men, women, young, old?
So, actually, the second one and third one were surveys which were done to people who are aged 16 to 59, so mature people. And I think the number of male and female were almost even. But the first survey I used, this was a survey done to high school students and university students, but the reason why I used this survey is that I thought history education almost ends in Japan in about junior high school, about the Korean history. Almost all the people don't study about it after they go to university or high school, so I think I could use this information for my presentation.
Thank you very much. That clears up a little bit about the methodology. One more follow-up question to that is, you talk about historical facts, and when we're talking about Japanese and Korean history, what is a fact is a very difficult question. So when you say that Japanese people are unaware of the facts, how did you determine what a fact is?
Oh, I think that's the difficult problem. And well, actually, in my research, I read a textbook. It was a textbook written for Chinese Korean students, and it was very, very easy to understand for me. And well, I couldn't examine all the facts written there, but for the major events like the comfort woman and the compensation, I tried to read other books, and I don't think, sorry my answer is getting long, but I don't think you can be able to examine about all the historical facts, but I think we should first try to think about what the fact is. I think what's important is not that is the fact really true or not, but that you try to examine the fact. Sorry.
So the fact that it's an issue makes it a fact.
Yes, sorry.
Okay, thank you for your question. Our reading time is left. Is there any comment? Please.
And thank you for your presentation. I think it's very interesting. But you said that the problem happened between Japan and Korea because the people believe in the wrong information. But I think that it's not happened between Japan and Korea. It may happen between Japan and China,
China and America, and so on. So I just want to ask, what's the special reason that make it problem happen between Japan and Korea?
I think the major reason is that the fact, well, Japan annexation of Korea. Well, there may be problems that Japan did the war with China, but I think the problem with Korea is more major and more important because it drastically changed Korean people's lives. So, did I answer your question? So I think the problem is important because the Japan's annexation of Korea was really a disaster for the Korean people. Sorry.
Thank you for your question. Thank you for your presentation. Now we have 2 minutes for the review process. Wait a moment, please. Okay, let's start the next presentation. Now we have a guest presenter. The next presenter is Ms. Maki Nakata from the Faculty of Law. She is the Outstanding Presentation Award winner of Second International Symposium on Liberal Arts and General Education. Her title is Japanese Student Scheme Targets People from ASEAN Nations. Please start your presentation.
Thank you. What do international visitors think of Japan? Well, the typical answer should be four seasons, temples and shrines, new buildings and towers, and good food. But my friends from the US answered Tom Cruise. Well, obviously, these answers should be different according to where they are from and what they are interested in. In my presentation, I am going to talk about the Japanese tourism scheme targeting only the people from ASEAN nations, because the visitors from ASEAN nations is on the rise. I'm going to demonstrate 3 areas of entertainment that ASEAN people are now interested in, and the institutional framework that support these areas. So the first entertainment is science. Interestingly, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs shows that people from ASEAN nations are most interested in technology. And this leads to my suggestion of adding science museums as a promotional list. Well, there are 180 science museums all over Japan, including this Nature Experience High-Tech Museum, and also this Natural Science Museum, where you can meet these ladies who are in effect robots, and these company museums, where you can enjoy all these simulations. The second entertainment is fruit picking. Known for the delicious taste, beautiful appearances, and safety, Japanese fruit is called edible diamonds. At the supermarket in Thailand, they experience as high as 80% of their sales just from peaches and strawberries from Japan. But because of high tariff barriers, this pack of strawberries costs about $25 US. But if you visit Japanese fruit picking site for as many strawberries as you wish to pick, only costs you $15 US. Okay, the third entertainment is anime. This photo is taken at the Anime Festival Asia held in Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia last year with 160,000 participants. And it is estimated that there are 10 million anime fans in entire ASEAN nations. And interestingly enough, there are 94% of anime fans answering that they would love to either live or visit Japan someday. So for millions of anime fans who would love to come to Japan, I would suggest Anime Pilgrimage. It has been very popular among young Japanese people. It is shown on this graph, which shows the increased number of visitors at a very famous anime pilgrimage site in Japan. You can visit such places to enjoy the environment, to enact a touching scene from the anime, or to realize that a two-dimensional world is by no means far from the reality. So wrapping up, technology, fruit picking, and anime could be huge initiatives for the ASEAN people to come to Japan. But promoting these areas alone do not help increase the number of the visitors to Japan. The Japan Trading Organization, they suggest two concerns that international visitors face in Japan. The first challenge is when they try to find out their destinations. For example, if you are to visit the real-life locations in anime, it may not be easy for you to find where to go and how to pay the fees for the transportation and all the things. So, as a solution, publishing official guidebooks and also setting up free Wi-Fi areas to allow them to access to online maps and other websites could help. The second challenge is translation. This really is a serious problem when they try to avoid certain food for their beliefs or allergies, or when they want to read some descriptions at science museums. As for food restrictions, we can set up some panels that shows the food is a Muslim-friendly food, or the list of sensitive products for let's say Hindus. And as for science museums, we can put up panels written in English, and also we can promote the guiding tours led by volunteers from science universities or retiring seniors. To conclude, Japan is not so much as the tourist-friendly country yet, but if we consider the wants and likes of the visitors from abroad, that could be really interesting for the next phase of the tourism scheme in Japan. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. Now it's time for Q&A. Is there any question or comment? Please come to the mic stand or raise your hand to give your question and comment.
Excuse me, I'm Delsky from Kyodai. I have a really dumb question, but why are peaches and strawberries so popular in Taiwan?
Thank you for the question. Actually, I don't know the details, but it is said that because strawberries are very precious, they cannot usually have that in that region.
Why not watermelons?
I'm sorry, I haven't really checked the details yet, but I will try.
Because it's important to find out the reasons for, I think maybe, I'm not sure, but sorry.
Okay, thank you for your question.
Any other comment? Okay, please.
Thank you for your excellent presentation. It was so interesting for me. I have a question. What do you think about the actor of your suggestion, government organizations, or some, for example, Kyoto University, who should act for your plan?
Thank you for your question. I think it is very important first for the Japan Tourism Agency to make some sort of framework and give some subsidies. And also, we as a Kyodai student could also help. For example, I suggested, sorry, I don't know how to use this, but I just talked about the guiding tours led by university students. And I think we could do that as, for example, science museums, because we have, we speak English and some other languages, and also we have some backgrounds of science and culture of Japan. So we could also contribute to this plan, I think.
Thank you for your concrete answer.
Yeah, thank you.
Please.
Hello. Thank you for your presentation. I was wondering, what's the main difference between, you say, Asian nations? So you want to make a kind of tourism for those people. What would be a tourist for Europeans or for North Americans or other people from other parts of the world?
Okay, thank you for your question. I was just focusing on ASEAN, people from ASEAN nations, because they have unique like preferences in terms of, for example, I mentioned technology, that's what ASEAN people are very interested in. But for example, if you look at people from European countries, they're rather interested in fashion, like Japanese fashion, and also hot springs in Japan and other things. So they're more focusing on like traditional Japanese way perspective. So that's why I kind of ruled out the European and American styles of the sightseeing. But in a further study, I would like to focus on that too.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, please.
I'm a professor of chemistry, so I'm a scientist. So it's my small comments. Don't mix the science with the technology. The ASEAN people interested not in science. They interested in the technology or scientific entertainment, not science.
Thank you very much for your comment. Thank you. And I'm really sorry that I made huge confusion. And just the professor also made the same point. I'll reflect on that in my presentation.
A short time is left. Is there any other comment or question? Okay, thank you for your presentation. Now the first session is finished. Let's take 15 minutes break. The second session will be start 15 o'clock. ありがとうございました。第1部はこれにて終了いたします。予定より早くはなっておりますが、15分間の休憩の後、15時ちょうどより後半のセッションを開始したいと思います。
We have another 5 speakers. The first presenter is Mr. Shogo Kobayashi and Miss Hanayo Ono from the Faculty of Law. The title is Surprising Reality of Styles of Waka Poetry. Now please start your presentation.
Hello. Okay.
do you really have good knowledge about Japan's traditional culture? Today I would like to talk about the styles of waka poetry. My good friend Hanayo conducted this research and I presented for her. This is what I'm going to talk, just 5 steps. Now let me begin. Let's share some backgrounds about our topic. This is a typical table about some special styles of waka poetry. The oldest one is called Mayo style, the second one Kokin style, and the newest one Shinkokin style. And these are typical descriptions on them. Mayo style is simple, Kokin style is sensitive, Shinkokin style is implicative. But young Japanese people today still take the poems in this way? Maybe not. And Miss Ono made a questionnaire with 5 poems, and she chose the poems carefully. She selected the poems which shares similar motifs. She made 4 questions like this. Which of these poems sound simple, intellectual, sensitive, implicative? Choose 1 or 2 from them. Okay? This is how to read our graphs. Poem 1 is the oldest of the 5 and it's picked out from Mayo poetry. And poem 2 and 3 are from Kokin poetry, and the newest 2 are from Shinkokin poetry. And this is what came out. Look at these 4 graphs. Look. And surprisingly, there was any significant trend on the graphs. This means what you learned in high school or maybe in junior high was not necessarily true. And yet, only 1 question made us bore a fit. And this question was, which poem is the simplest and frankest to you? Roughly speaking, the older the poem is, the simpler and franker it sounds. And about half of the respondents answered, poem 2 is simplest and frankest. What does this mean? Your textbook must have said that simplicity and frankness are distinctive features of Mayo style, but our survey shows poem 2 from Kokin style was the simplest and frankest of the 5 poems. Okay. Poem 2 is newer than poem 1, but it was simplest and frankest in the series of the poems, the 5 poems. There must be another factor. Yes, poem 2 is made up of 3 short sentences. Like this, just 3 sentences. And all the other poems were made up of 1 or 2 sentences. Short words are simple, short words are frank. This is a natural idea, isn't it? Okay, now conclusion. What you learned in high school or in junior high is not necessarily true, our survey shows. And the older the poem is, the simpler and franker the poem sound. And short sentences, many sentences, allows the poem simpler and franker. This is the very truth of young people today. What you learned in high school is not necessarily true, say again. And your textbook told you a lie. That's all. Thank you for your kind attention. And I'm really sorry. That I can't answer your questions, maybe perfectly, not perfectly, because I'm not the answer, because I'm not the researcher. Oh, I made a lot of mistakes. Thank you again.
Thank you for your presentation. Now it's time for Q&A. Please come to the mic stand to give you a question or comment.
Thank you for your interesting talk. You mentioned that the point carefully selected.
Yes.
In this presentation. So I think the unbiased is very important for your research. So how do you confirm the carefulness of your selection of the points? Do you understand my question?
You mean
carefully?
How did Ms. Ono selected the points?
Yeah.
All 5 points were about autumn sentimentalism, sentimental feelings in autumn. All the 5 points dealt with feelings. Similar motifs.
That is a kind of the carefulness?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your presentation, and I'm really impressed because I feel like your speech and also we had another speaker from law school. It looks like law school students are really passionate. So yeah.
Thank you.
Right, and I just have a really little question about, I think you mentioned about Japanese high school textbook or junior high textbook told a lie to the students. So what did the textbooks say back then? Because I'm non-Japanese and I have no idea what was taught in Japanese classes. So could you please explain that to me? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. And what should I say now? I should explain how the textbook should be revised, or current explanation.
My question was because you were talking about the textbook, what the textbook told the students were kind of wrong, but what actually did the textbook say, about the points? Did they say, for example, those points are really different based on the time period they were written?
Okay, maybe the textbook editors are so old, and maybe the description was correct and some decades ago. So the manual style is simple and frank. The Korean style is intellectual and so on. It was. It may have been true of the students, but now, but just for now, it is not correct, I think.
Right. Okay, now I get it. So it's like in the textbook, it kind of described different styles in the different words, like the different descriptions, but actually it's not. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Listening to your answer to the previous question, you want to compare manual cooking, cooking, and you choose just 2 points from cooking and just 2 points from cooking.
Yes.
Is it okay?
Only
2. Then I want to ask you, how many points in cooking and how many points totally in cooking?
I'm just a speaker, and Ms. Ono, the researcher, is here. Please raise your hand or stand up. She's so shy, but if you want to know more about the poetry, please ask her later. Sorry.
I thank you for your presentation. I think this addresses an interesting problem in Japanese education, in that a lot of effort on the part of students is put into remembering facts. And if there is any question about the validity of these facts, then that's very important. What I'd like to ask is, I'm not from Japan and I know nothing about poetry, even in English. How important are these definitions in Japanese education? Is this an important issue? Do you have to remember these different styles of poetry? Are you expected to be able to repeat in a test? What are the aspects of different types of poetry in Japan?
Miss Ono maybe will say something else, but I can say it is not meaningful. I can just say it is not meaningful. Just so if we conduct some further research and we think of something, some idea that we have to revise the textbooks. If I am the editor, I will delete the descriptions. It's not meaningful. But Miss Ono will say something else. She will say it's important. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I'm afraid, but we don't have enough time. Thank you for your presentation.
Okay.
Now we have 2 minutes for the review process. Please wait a moment. Okay, let's start the next presentation. The next speaker is Mr. Shinji Minato from the Faculty of Engineering. The title is Student Satisfaction Levels of Kyoto University. Now, please start your presentation.
Thank you, Chairperson. Today, I would like to talk about how can we raise the student satisfaction. My talk is composed of 5 parts. And my research question is the relation between the interest about research and the student satisfaction. Please look at this graph. This figure shows the time the first grade students spend on studying in a week. For example, 30% of American students spending for studying about from 6 to 10 hours in a week, but only 12% of KU students spend the same time. Actually, some of my students rarely attend classes, and so I can't borrow manga from them. This is a serious problem. So we have to find a way to make students study harder. And students who are satisfied with KU are likely to be spend longer time for studying than who are not satisfied with KU. So to find what student satisfaction rates, questionnaire layers were conducted for freshmen at the Physical Engineering Division in KU. First, the target is a freshman of the engineering course. This is because one of the 3 students of KU belongs to engineering course. And the second, the way conducted this survey is a question set, including 52 question items were answered, and we process this survey results by using the Excel software. From the viewpoint of student satisfaction, 8 explanatory questions were selected. For example, this question including international conferences were often held in KU, where you for more information about qualifying examination. And the regression analysis has shown that students who think famous scholars belong to KU, or students who have more chance to connect with scholars in various fields, are more likely to be satisfied with KU. But students who have more qualification information are not to be likely to be not satisfied with KU. So this could be interpreted that students who think famous scholars belong to KU, or students who have more chance to connect with scholars in various fields, would be interested in doing research. But students who hope to take qualification information do not be interested in research, but interested in getting a job. So students who are interested in doing research tend to be more satisfied with KU than those who are not. This has some limitations, but first, the sample size was small, only 72. The second, our findings may not apply to other faculties because this sample was only students of the Department of Engineering. And from this conclusion, students who are interested in doing research tend to be more satisfied with KU than those who are not. So to raise student satisfaction, we should do for the more events that give students more interest about studies is efficient. And moreover, students will study harder through these events because they are satisfied with KU and they have higher motivation about research. Holding more events that give students more interest about studies. This is my conclusion. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your presentation. Now is the time for Q&A. Is there any question or comment? Please come to the mic stand to give your question or comment.
Hello, thank you for your presentation. You say that students who are more interested in research are more satisfied with Kyoto University. Do you know the proportion of them? Like, how many students are more interested in research and how many students are interested in just getting a job after graduating? Do you have this information?
You mean the information about students who are interested in doing research to be more satisfied. So this research was conducted by Excel software and using the regression analysis. This analysis shows that it will be likely to be the students who are interested in research will be more satisfied. So this wasn't the exact proportion, but this is a tendency.
What I mean is that are the students in Kyoto University more interested in research or jobs?
I mean, this analysis shows that choosing famous scholars belong to KU and hoping more chance to connect with scholars in various fields are more satisfied with KU. But hoping to take qualification information, students would not be satisfied with KU. So I said this could be interpreted that these two contents could be interested in doing research, and that contents would be interpreted that the students would be interested in getting a job.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you for your question.
Very interesting ideas you have there. Did you ask these questions in Japanese? There may be a difference in the meaning there, and some of your questions are not really in question form in English. So I was just wondering, in your questionnaire, those questions you have there in English were originally in Japanese. You asked them in a Japanese questionnaire or with an English. Those are the exact questions you asked.
Thank you for your questions. This question was started in Japanese, and I translated the question to English.
I see. So I think that there might be a difference of nuance between your original Japanese question and how you've worded it in English. And so I think you should, a suggestion would be I would include perhaps the original Japanese question in Japanese as well, so that we know exactly what question was asked.
Thank you for your advice.
In this case, since that was, okay. Nice.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. My question is about, you made a suggestion at the end about how to make students more motivated in studying. Did you ask them what would make them more interested in studying, or how did you come to the conclusion?
You mean how to for the events?
Yes, like what kind of events?
Yes, that's a nice question. I suppose, for example, to have a conference students and researchers can communication. If I'm a first grade student and I have no time and no chance to know what researchers are researching, so for the events that if students can know about that, the information students would be more likely to be interested in such research.
Okay, so you asked them that if there were more conferences and this kind of events, they would be interested. That's what they answered?
Yes, I mean the holding the event such in the communication students and researchers would be more effective.
Okay, thank you.
You've given the regression coefficients there to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 decimal places. I'm also uncertain about these figures here. For example, on the top line, what is that 744?
I can.
Why do you give those some places and what is that 744?
Thank you for your question. I chose this question because I'm very interested about this question.
Yeah, but you're not answering my question. You're giving these coefficients here. Can you see that top coefficient? 1.594, 107,188. You strictly need all of those decimal points. Does it need to go to 9 decimal points in your present on that graph?
Sorry, I don't write a graph in this presentation.
No, I'm just trying to come in from a different direction. The presentation there is giving coefficient values with very large numbers, decimal points, isn't it? Do you think that all of those decimal points give more information? Can you not just say, for example, on the top 1.594? That probably is overkill. Why don't you make the top one 1.594, for example? The second one, 0.231.
Sorry, I can't understand about it, so please explain about it.
Thank you for your question.
I'll try and rephrase the question. In other words, there's in a presentation or in any scientific data you present, there's a level of appropriate or meaningful detail, right? For beyond which it becomes it obscures the meaning or the significance of that data. Do you think that there is a way that you could improve your presentation of numerical data, right? Your presentation of numerical data, the length of a number of digits, because there is no real statistical meaning to go out to the minus 10th decimal place or whatever in probably this case. So the question is, Are you aware of those kinds of issues? This is sort of what you're trying to get at, right? Did you understand my question there? Do you understand the idea that what was trying to be asked right now? In other words, as part of your presentation skills, to make an effective presentation, there's a level of detail or a level of data which is most appropriate given your a certain circumstance or given the nature of the data. Is this level of detail appropriate for the data you are dealing with?
Okay, I should have write about details. Thank you for your advice.
Thank you for your question and comments. I'm afraid that we don't have enough time. Thank you for your presentation, speaker. Now we have 2 minutes for review process. Please wait a moment. Okay, now let's start the next presentation. The next presenter is Ms. Sai Takebe from Faculty of Integrated Human Studies. The title is How Motivation Improves English Study. Now please start your presentation.
Thank you, Chairperson. Hello everyone, my name is Sai Takebe. I'd like to talk about how motivation improves English study. This is my outline. English is becoming more and more important these days all over the world. I realized it when I was listening to Malala's speech. She's from Pakistan. I'm from Japan. We are non-native English speakers. If she doesn't speak English and I don't learn English, I wasn't able to hear of her strong, meaningful voice. English gives us a lot of things. Many people want to know how to become a good English speaker. In this research, I focus on the relationship of motivation and English improvement. Here is the method. I went to an ESL school in Canada during this summer vacation. I asked my friend there to help me with collecting the data for this research. I conducted 2-time questionnaire and records. On each question, they valued the feeling by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For instance, the question that is, I like studying English, and one Korean wrote one means not at all. But 1 month later, she answered the same question and wrote 5. 5 means, I like studying English very much. So I can measure the change on her motivation. This is a comparison, the first questionnaire to the second one. Their motivation changes from the blue line to the red line. Their motivations are fluctuating, changing. This is the important fact according to these figures.
3. My country is Korea, South Korea.
This is a transcript of her speech. It has empty phrases and repetitions. In order to know the improvement of her English, I removed no mini words and I got the criteria. As you can see on the right side, her talking speed is 54 words per minute. 1 month later, 64 words per minute. I recorded three students' speech and I computed regression analysis. I like studying English. Does not have positive effect on the improvement. However, what is important is I try to speak English hard enough. I cannot try to speak English harder than now. This motivation has strong positive coefficient correlation to your improvement. I want talking my mother tongue have strong negative relation to I try to speak English hard enough. Now, let me summarize my presentation, so please pay your all attention, ladies and gentlemen. Surprisingly, I like studying English has weak relation to your improvement. Unfortunately, I want talking my mother tongue has strong negative relation to your most important motivation. Here is the key point. Your most important motivation is I try to speak English hard enough. I cannot try to speak English harder than now. For the future research, different backgrounds should be considered, such as education, gender, family, nationality, and culture. Moreover, this research should be repeated with more participants. Also, this result will be applied for various aspects of life, such as jobs, hobbies, and so on. I try to speak English hard enough. This is the most important motivation for your English improvement. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you for your presentation. Now is the time for Q&A. Is there any question or comment? Please come to the mic stand to give your question or comment.
Thank you for your interesting presentation. I want to ask a question. Well, I want to ask a definition about speak English hard. Does hard means speaking as fast as possible, or frequently as possible, or grammatically correct as possible, or just it means the hard as possible?
Thank you for your comment. Your point is very good. Yes. First, the meaning of hard. Trying hard. This means I'm studying hard English, and I'm doing my best, and I'm making effort. Try to speak English hard is this meaning. because the fast as possible is better for English improvement. Of course not. Well, when I I conducted a survey. I recorded the voice, speech, 1 minute speech, and I removed no meaning words, so namely different strange grammar and repetitions like this, and then like this. So I removed this, no meaning words, and then so put aside this. I choose the only the content that have meaning. So my result does not mean as fast as possible is better to English improvement. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comment.
Is there any additional comment?
Okay, so yeah, I really wanted to ask the same question as Steve did. So that I tried to another way. So I think this phrase, "speak English hard," is kind of a very ambiguous phrase in the sense of meaning. So my question is, do you think that this kind of definition of your meaning of the speaking English hard can be correctly interpreted by subject? So but in the questionnaire.
Correctly interpreted the subject.
Yeah. So I think it's a kind of important point to
Yes.
analyze questionnaire.
Yes, your point is also very good. Yes.
So for instance, do you have any kind of additional comment or description of your question?
Yes, I submit the questionnaire, and some of them couldn't understand my question, so they asked me. So I explained that the meaning of hard in details, so then they could understand. And actually, before Professor Becker's comment, I thought I cannot define the meaning of hard because each individual have different thinking of effort and studying hard. So I thought I cannot define, but now I realize that definition is important for scientific research. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you for your question. Thank you for your presentation, speaker. Now we have 2 minutes for the review process. Please wait a moment. Okay, let's start the next presentation. The next speaker is Mr. Kota Hayashi from Faculty of Science. The title is Verification of HATP25B, being scanned as Observation of Transit Phenomenon. Now, please start your presentation.
Thank you, Chairperson. Well, the Earth has absolute limitation of life, no matter how well we take care of it. For the eternal prosperity of humankind, we must find a second Earth that we can move into. In this study, I targeted on a planet called HATP25B, which I will be calling this the planet from now on. So, the question for my study is, can we survive on the planet? Okay, let's begin. So first of all, I would like to ask you a question. What do we need to survive on the planet, do you think? Well, atmosphere? Definitely. Oxygen? That's right. If not, we'll choke to death. I wouldn't like that. Well, these two are just a tiny part of the things that is needed. However, today I'd like to focus just on temperature to make my study simple. So, here's the outline. Yes, here's the outline of my study. First, detect the planet by observation. Then, think about the physical characteristic of the planet, like temperature. And lastly, infer the possibility of the planet being the second Earth. So here we have our target. Sorry, it's kind of difficult to see. And I used this equipment to observe my target. And as a result of my observation, I got this graph showing the change of the brightness of my target. So let's see what this graph means by comparing with the model. The small dark circle, this one, is the planet, and this big yellow circle is the primary star, which means the sun for this planet. So, as you can see, when the planet passes in front of the star, the brightness decreases. By analyzing this graph and other data, I got some interesting values telling us about the planet. And here it is, the radius of the planet and the distance between the planet and the primary star. Well, yes, we have our values here, that's right. But, it's quite difficult to understand, isn't it? But don't you worry. You've got Kota Hayashi here. I have an idea. Why don't we compare with the Earth? Well, those values will say that the planet is about 24 times larger than the Earth and 22 times nearer to the primary star than the Earth. So please think that this screen is the sun, the primary star, and think that we have Earth in the back of the wall. In this case, if we assume that I am the planet, where should I be? Well, I should be all the way down here, very close to the sun, very close to the primary star. Well, by using this fact, I thought about the amount of energy that hits the planet per unit of volume and unit of time. And the value on the planet was about 7 times larger than the value on the Earth. Which means that while the Earth is being hit by this amount of energy, the planet is being hit by this amount of energy. This is a very big difference. So, we have an equation about the energy that we acquired now. If we assume that the planet is made of the same materials as the Earth, it can be estimated that the temperature on the planet is about 2,000 degrees. Well, what do you think? I mean, do you want to live on a planet like that? It's 2,000 No. Hot. It is too hot for us to live on a planet like that. So, as a conclusion, I'd like to say that there is a very low possibility of the planet being the second Earth. Therefore, we have to keep looking for this second Earth in order for us, the humankind, to flourish forever. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you for your presentation. Now is the time for question or answer. Please come to the mic stand to give your question or comment.
Oh, excuse me, but first of all, I'd like to answer to the keynote speech. Yes, the professor said in the keynote speech that is very true and very correct. But I just want to mention one thing. Yes, my target is placed in around a distance in about 1,000 light years, which means it needs 1,000 years to go there, even at speed of light. However, as I said, the Earth has absolute limitation of light because of the sun. You know, the sun will explode in years. I don't know what exactly the year, but I think that will happen, and I can't think of the way to avoid that. So I think that going to the second Earth will be the ultimate way for the eternal prosperity. And I have an idea. Why don't we create a pre-second Earth, which is like a spaceship that could carry whole society in, which means like you can born in the spaceship, you can live in a spaceship, and you can die in a spaceship. Well, I think these ideas will help my study, and these things will help our, excuse me, these things will help our prosperity. Excuse me, sorry. Can I have a question from you? Excuse me, sorry.
Thank you for your excellent presentation. I want to ask you about the questions. The first is very similar to the Professor Becker, and so since there are billions or even trillions of planets in the whole universe, and why do you just pick up this planet that is quite far away from the Earth?
So you're asking the reason why I picked the HAT P25b, right?
Oh yes.
Yes. Yes, that is kind of technical problem because I couldn't choose another planet because I observed this planet to verify whether we can live or not. So I have to observe the planet. But the temperature, is not temperature. The weather in this summer was quite bad. We had quite a lot of rain, and yes, we have. I had quite many candidates for my observation, but the condition of the weather, the condition of my telescope, they only allowed me to observe this HAT P25b. Excuse me. Does this answer your question?
Yes, I got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your question. Is there any question that you would like to ask me?
You got that the radiation this planet receives is 7 times that of the Earth, correct?
Yes, the radiation per unit of volume and unit of time.
No, I think you need per square meter, don't you?
Well, yes. At first I was thinking about the energy per square meter yes, per time. But
well, you see, on the Earth, have you got the figure of what we receive on the Earth in your mind?
The actual value of the radiation.
What do we get on Earth per square meter? That keeps the whole thing going. What do we get? What do we receive from our sun on the Earth per square meter, roughly speaking?
So the radiation that we get from the sun, right?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I'm not sure the real.
There's a very easy way to see this. What we receive from the sun is about 1 kilowatt per square meter. And the easy way to remember it is because it's actually about 1 bar of an electric fire. 1 bar of an electric fire per kilowatt, right? So 1 bar of an electric fire. Now what you're saying is that on your planet, I don't know, B25b, on your planet you're getting 7 times that. 7 times you're getting 7 bars of an electric fire on each square meter. That's putting it in sort of physical terms people can understand. And that's why it's so hot. Okay? And that's why it would probably be very unpleasant. But also, I mean, the size of your planet, it's almost the size of Jupiter, isn't it? So therefore, it's bound to be a gas giant with the mass that you have. And there would be no well-defined surface, blah, blah, blah. It's not a good prospect from many, many different angles. But I accept that you've done what you can with limited observations.
Yes, thank you. Yes, at first I was also trying to determine the mass of this planet so that I could determine the density of the planet. So those density will tell us how the more data about what the planet is like. So at first I was trying to do that, but as I said before, the condition of observation didn't allow me to do that. So yes, in the future research, I really would like to do that. Thank you for your advice comment.
Okay, thank you for the presentation.
Well, remember everyone, the second Earth will be our hope. So come with me to the prosperity of humankind. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the presentation. Now we have 2 minutes for the review process. Please wait a moment. Okay, let's start the next presentation. The next speaker is Miss Judy Wang from Center for Excellence in Higher Education. The title is Project-Based Collaborative Writing to L2, an exploratory practice. Now, please start your presentation.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My title is Project-Based Collaborative Writing in L2, an explanatory practice. So here, L2 means second language, and in my project, this refers to English. And this paper was written based on a writing project in Kyoto University. So first of all, I want to highlight the 2 concepts in the title. The first one is collaborative writing. Collaborative writing is the joint production or co-authoring of a text by 2 or more authors. As the Japanese text is calling for more communicative approach to language teaching, teachers are finding collaborative writing more and more useful in classrooms. And for exploratory practice, as the name suggests, if you have a puzzle, you need to explore it. And your ultimate goal is to enhance or to strive for the high quality of life. In this sense, if it is a classroom, then it's the high quality of life in classroom. And there will be collaboration in classroom, like the collaboration among students, among teachers, and between students and teachers. And therefore, their mutual understanding will be enhanced. First of all, I would like to briefly introduce this project. This is called Japanese Psychology for Intercultural Understanding. This is actually an iBook project. So, as we know that the Kyoto University is calling for more globalization, internationalization, and there is the new center that's being under construction in the Yoshida campus near the cafeteria. It's called IARC, and we want to design materials for overseas students who come to Kyoto University, and we want them to know more about Japanese psychology and culture, so we're writing this book of Japanese key terms. And the participants, we call them Japanese Psychology Research Group. And for the tools we used are Google Docs, where the members can collaborate writing in real time, and also GoAnimate, where we create animations to explain simple terms, and also iBook Author. And for the finished work, I will show you an illustration and video later on, but first I want you to look at the chapters and the titles. We have 6 chapters finished and also 6 to go in this semester. For data collection and analysis in my paper, so first I used a questionnaire, but I thought it wasn't enough, so I had interviews, but those interviews are kind of private interviews because I don't want the students to feel that they are on the record. They might be afraid that the professor might know they're not devoting their time to writing. And I got both quantitative and qualitative data from that. And during the analysis process, I found something very interesting. And the first one is the time arrangement of the members. So they admitted that they only devoted like 67.5% of the time on the project, while the other part was quite irrelevant. And of that part, only 30% of the time was devoted to writing. So as we can see, the efficiency was rather low, and we only finished 1 chapter last semester. But their attitudes towards peer review was quite positive. In previous literature, there are researchers that are saying that the co-authors are willing to make contributions, but they hate their contribution to be altered or delayed by others. And we have also found out that their influence on English language learning is also positive. So my conclusion for this is that collaborative writing can produce more accurate text, both in grammar and also in content. And also it can facilitate language learning. This is because, first of all, from the peer review, the members are discussing the typical cases of a Japanese term, so it's more accurate in content, and there is also a professor who facilitates this program, so we can have grammar check. And also, as we are communicating in English, that also enhanced our speaking English, and also we're reading extensively related papers that kind of enlarge our vocabulary. But it also has issues with efficiency, as I mentioned earlier. This semester, we have some possible improvements that's been underway. The first one is we need wise planning. Because in the first semester, we were too ambitious and we weren't able to accomplish our goals. And second one is we have established an accountability system. So the students this semester are now taking responsibility for their own work. If they are falling behind, they might probably have to take extra hours outside the university to complete their work. And third one is integrative learning, is what we plus collaborative with cooperative. So cooperative is more independent than collaborative, where the student will finish 1 chapter before we go to the peer review process. So we at least have a draft ready, and that's more quickly. And so this is an illustration from a amae chapter. This shows the amae between 2 people that are in a romantic relationship. And this is amae between 2 classmates. I'll show you the video. It's about asking inappropriate requests.
次の数学の講義だるいなあ。悪い、俺ちょっと用事あるんだ。ノートを頼んでもいいか？まあいいけど、何の用事？実は彼女とデートなんだ。はあ、なんだよそれ。すまんすまん、ジュースおごるから頼むよ。はいはい、わかりました。
Yeah, that's all for my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. Now it's time for Q&A. Is there any question or comment? Please come to the mic stand to give your question or comment.
Thank you for your presentation. Your standpoint was very interesting. I have a question for your conclusion. Yes, how improvements can be made to facilitate future projects? You have said wise planning or accountability system were required. In detail, what means wise planning or accountability system?
Oh, okay. So wise planning means we can't be too ambitious. We can't set many goals than before. And in the previous semester, we were not wise enough. We were thinking about finishing one chapter while the 4 of the members are collaborating, writing the same chapter. But there were delays and also like family emergencies, so that the member could not participate in the writing project. And we have to wait for that member, because if you finish that part, but he hasn't finished it, you have to wait for him. It's not wise at all. So in this semester, we used more wise planning, and we set aside some time for delays or for emergencies. And we also asked one member to complete 1 chapter per month. So that way, if you're absent, you won't like influence other members. Yeah.
Now I got it. Thank you.
And for you also asked accountability system. It's simply means to help somebody accountable for his responsibility. We have this new plan that's making 1 student write 1 chapter per month. So if I fall behind, I can't ask others for help to write it for me. So I have to complete it in 1 month. If I'm falling behind, maybe I'll take some extra hour in my home or outside the university to make it up. Yeah.
Thank you for your answer.
Is there any question or comment?
Thank you for the interesting presentation. Just several short questions. First, what do you mean by peer review? Second is, how many people do you have in your team?
Okay, so peer review means the review of work by your peers. It's like if we have a class of students, they are asked to complete a composition. But after the completion of the composition, the teacher asks the student sitting next to you or the student, any student in your class to review your work. It's called peer review. It's not reviewed by a teacher, it's reviewed by your fellow student or someone of your own age or someone who is in the same social status as you. Yeah. And your second question?
How many people in your team?
So last semester we had 4 members and the project was headed by Professor Dosky. But this semester, due to some budget issues, we only have 3 members right now. Yeah, we're working as office assistants.
And so when your project will be finished?
We're thinking about next semester because we still have 6 chapters to go, and I also want to review as a whole of the book, and we also want to add preface, introduction, But we don't have any publisher to deal with, so in format, I don't think that's too difficult because we're publishing this on an iOS system and anybody can access it freely on iOS from iBook. So that we noticed that most Korea University students have an iPad, Mac, or iPhone, and that's the way to access the book. It's totally free, it's not for money.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for interesting talk. In conclusion, you mentioned about the collaborative writing can produce accurate. So how do you measure accuracy of text?
So grammatically speaking, accuracy is very easy. We have professors to check our grammar. But in terms of content, our group is kind of a mixed group. We have people from Japan, from Sweden, from China. And so we're trying to get the concept of a Japanese term very correctly. Sometimes we ask the Japanese student if our understanding of the Japanese term is correct, and they would give their advice, and they would ask us if this concept exists in our culture as well, so that we're doing this like cross-examine thing, and that's more accurate.
As a negative side, it may produce compromising expression of the text. And the negative side, collaborative writing may lead to the compromising representation of the text. Have you considered that?
Yeah, I know. So there were times. Can I answer this question? Oh, okay. So there were times when we had very difficult problems with the peer review process because in terms of content, there was one Japanese student who thought that this should be self-indulgence amae. He thought it would be like something subjective and objective, but we thought it would like be self-indulgence amae or as amae to other people. So we have quite a lot of discussion on that, and we have to compromise a lot. And at last we tried to persuade him because we like the majority and we really felt sorry for him, but his idea was brilliant, but it was not fitting the framework. Yeah, a lot of compromises. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. That's all for today's session. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Let's give a big hand to all presenters.
Thank you. This is all for today's students' presentation. Again, thank you for your kind attention. Now we are preparing for the next section. Please wait just a moment. Sorry, excuse me. Now we'd like to introduce Professor Tatsuhisa Kato, one of the judges, to make a release to today's presentation. Sorry, Professor Kato, please come on to the stage.
Sorry. My name is Tatsuko Kato, a member of the judge committee. Maybe totally 7, 8 judges. Anyway, and I'm very glad give the small word on behalf of the judge member now. First of all, we thank to all of you for coming and joining this symposium today. And I have to do the performance review now. But as you know, at the beginning, Professor Carl Becker has already finished the clear and complete the review. So please, the presenter, defer his the review, and I commend you had better ask him. Please give me your slide. Then you can get the other point for the improvement of your presentation. My total impression to the today's presentation. We had the papers which you wrote in advance. I read it, and my impression is that your presentation is much better than paper, much better than contents of paper. Some paper is hard to read. It's my frank impression. Anyway, and all presentation were well prepared and well done. You did it. And listening to your presentation, I remember my younger days. It was almost more than 30 years ago. When I was 28 years old, my supervisor gave me the chance to talk at a major scientific international conference in the United States. When I faced the giant professors in the United States, I was so upset. So I decided to talk in my Darwin English at Tokyo A. Anyway, I finished 1 hour talk with full passion for my research, and after this big experience, I got confidence in English presentation. I think you are now the similar or same stage where I was. You did it with full passion and got a confidence in English presentation. However, this is the first step to lead to all over the world. Please go to the higher peak in near future, please. It's my word. Once again, we appreciate all of you for coming and joining this symposium today. Thank you very much.
Professor Kato, thank you so much. Next, as the ending of this symposium, we would like to introduce Professor Koji Koyamada to make a closing remarks. Professor Koyamada, please.
Thank you for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor. Professor Kato already mentioned the concluding remarks. Give you a closing remarks on the occasion of the 5th International Symposium of the liberal arts and education. So first of all, I thank all supporters who will give the award. The awards will increase students' motivation in their learning. I think I would like to appreciate all students who made excellent presentation in this symposium. I think they are really know what self-learning is. That is, freedom can be employed, enjoyed only when they follow a scientific method. Then I would like to thank all the contributors who take part in this symposium organization. I know they were working late in the last night. I know very well. And this is the fifth symposium. That means the students who made a presentation in the first symposium now become the graduate students. One of the graduate students contribute to this symposium. Mr. Mima. He's the graduate students who made one presentation at the first symposium. Please give a big hand to him. Thank you. I think that there are strong bond between OBs and the OGs in this symposium organization. So this symposium played a very important role in which self-learning culture is actually transferred from generation to the next generation. Lastly, I want to thank everyone for all efforts and support to make this event a success. I, together with the participants, will pray for the prosperity of this symposium from now on. Again, thank you.
これは Thank you very much. Now, this symposium is ending now. Thank you very much for your kind attention. We will have after party from